This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Builders Association, building today for a better tomorrow, and by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania.
I welcome back to Point Counterpoint with Representatives Sturla and Turzai. We're chatting about now Governor Rendell, who will do his inaugural on January 16, and then is it the first Tuesday in February, I think, or it's a Tuesday, I think, where he makes his address to you guys.
Budget address, yeah.
Yeah, budget address, and of course that's the huge, sets the stage for the debate over the budget. All right, Mike Sturla, let me turn to you on health care. I think, and I could be wrong, that Governor Rendell has made it clear 1.2 million Pennsylvanians without any coverage. He wants to take a whack at that, right, as they did in some other states. I think we might see a very ambitious proposal out of the governor for covering a lot of those. What's your sense of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be the #1 priority here in Pennsylvania. Quite frankly, I think it'll be the #1 priority in the presidential election coming up. Yep. 10% of the state's population. We covered all kids. We made sure that all kids have access to health insurance. We were fought tooth and nail along the way in the process of trying to do that. But you have working Pennsylvanians that are out there. We're not talking about people that are on welfare and collecting medical assistance benefits at this point in time. We're talking about working Pennsylvanians that have no health coverage. Mm-hmm. That's who's in need of health care coverage here. Now,
Mike Turzai, if Governor Rendell does it, I mean, it's likely to use the current system. I mean, he's not going to reinvent the wheel. I don't know if the legislature would pass a bill requiring, as Massachusetts did, everyone to get health care coverage. What's your sense about what you think might be doable in terms of extending coverage, and what are the how might it occur?
I think there's three issues with health care reform. One, the issue of crowd out. Is the governor saying that he does not want private employers to be engaged in the business of providing health care? He has to ask that paradigm, and if we continue to make it a state-provided program, then are we saying that because what will happen is that employers will say, well, look, I don't need that cost, go ahead and take it.
Well, small business people are paying, $10,000, $12,000 per employee because of the rising health care costs. I mean, we've had a lot of them on this program. Yeah, I think you're right. They're willing now, even though it may not be their philosophical.
That's right.
They might say, "You guys take it over."
And it presents a real problem. I think that if the governor is going to look at some real reform in how we provide health care coverage, I'd take a look at Massachusetts. The idea that it requires everybody to, in fact, get health coverage, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
And some people can afford it, but just choose not to buy it. I mean, there are a lot of people who can't, admittedly.
Yeah.
It's a pretty... Mike, let me ask you this question. I mean, there are ways to do it. One is to do more pools, if we talk about larger...
Yeah.
I mean, for example, why does every school district go out and compete on its own, with health coverage? Why do all the municipalities? Why can't we get into... I mean, there ought to be ways to go ahead.
Yeah,
Exactly where I'm heading.
I think there are efficiencies in the system.
Yeah.
You look at individuals that are self-employed. They can't go out and get a group policy with other individuals that are self-employed. I mean, that kind of stuff is outrageous. But even when we did the Children's Health Insurance Program, I mean, what we heard from the insurance companies was, you might be able to sell it cheaper than we can. Mm-hmm. Well, what's so bad about that? I mean, what we're talking about here is people getting health care coverage. Mm-hmm. This isn't about, who gets to sell it or who gets a commission on it or what it should be about providing health care for all Pennsylvanians.
Yeah, and as you, we got about a minute left. Let me frame this. People get coverage anyway, but they just go into the hospitals, and the hospitals provide the coverage and don't get any reimbursement for it, which no one can argue that that's fair, right?
Look, health care coverage, people need to be covered for health care. I mean, I don't have any doubt about that. The issue is what's the best way to deliver that health care? I'm willing to take a look at the Massachusetts program. I do think as a part of any health care reform package, you got to have lawsuit abuse reform too. I think that the trial lawyers are winning at the expense of health care coverage, and that's got to change too. That's got to be a component part of it, Terry.
All right, great update. Two of the brightest guys in the General Assembly, people who pay a lot of attention to policy. Thanks for being on the program. We'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as they say, stay well.